Hello and welcome to episode 140 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so this will be the final video in the series of me going through manually enumerating different details of a compromised Windows host before moving on to showing how we could take all the details that I've enumerated in the previous video set of videos and do all of that in one automated process, especially when time and efficiency is of the essence. But before diving any further into what I'm going to be looking to enumerating in today's video, I want to preface this video with my usual disclaimer in saying that this is for research, ethical, and educational purposes only. Any sort of malicious activity that may directly and indirectly come from someone watching this video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so what I've gone ahead and did is I've done some pre-recording discovery, gathering what my IP address here is 10.10.48.4, and our target address is 10.3.24.46. And I've also went ahead and exploited the Rigetto vulnerability here on the Windows host, so we could just immediately jump in to the enumeration of this exploited host. All right, so I'm going to start from the top, go over some things that may look a bit redundant for those who may be familiar with my videos, but I want to take a holistic approach as far as enumerating our target here. And so just bear with me if some of these things seem repetitive or redundant, things that you've seen me do probably hundreds of times in my previous videos. Just moving this over here so we have plenty of room to see. All right. So I'm going to start off by doing a um, get UID command, and then these first sets of commands are all going to be Meterpreter. 'Cause I just wanted to show how we can begin to enumerate processes using Meterpreter here. All right, so get UID is going to not only give me back what my username is, but should give me some idea of the level of privileges that this account that I've compromised has. All right, so we can see because I've clearly gained access to an administrative account that I more than likely have some elevated privileges, and I'm able to run some pretty high end commands here on the target host. So if I do sysinfo, which is another familiar command that I've ran plenty of times, all right, it's going to tell me what the operating system here of our target host is, which is Windows Server 2012 revision 2, and also what architecture that is running on, which is 64-bit, and then an architecture of my Meterpreter session, which is 32 bits. All right, so while I don't necessarily need a 64 bits in order to do some of the enumeration that I need to do, part of that enumeration is me migrating to a 64-bit session. So I wanted to show how to do that and just basically giving context to this enumeration and some things that an attacker can do that will empower them to be able to escalate their privileges or be able to run even more commands on a target host. All right, so to begin to try to upgrade my Meterpreter session here, first if I want to see the process tree, meaning every process that's currently running on this Windows system, I say PS. All right, so we have a full list of, not only do we have a full list of processes running here, we can see, I'm gonna scroll up a little bit so we can see the title of everything. All right, so we can see the process ID, the name, and then we can see the user. So again, in addition to the process ID and the process name, what the user column is, why that's highly important to me is because it's going to tell me the level of permissions and process that these processes have, and if it's an ideal candidate to migrate to, if I need to upgrade my interpreter session from a 32-bit session to a 64-bit session. So because I have elevated privileges, the full extent of this column is available to me at the moment. But if I didn't, I will only be able to see those level of permissions that are respective to whatever type of account that I have. So if I had an account with just a really basic account, this column would just be filled with it would be blank except for those processes that have the equivalent privileges that I do as a basic user. But because I have these elevated privileges, that's why I can see some of these processes have administrator access, and then we see others have full system authority. All right, and so on and so on. And then these tells you, then this on this with under path, it's going to tell you where we can find these different exe files that are running, where in what directories, where in the system they can be found. All right. So let's say from these list of this list of processes, I want to choose one to use in order to migrate to a 64-bit session, which we can see by this long list here. I have plenty, but let's say I want to go for the Explorer process. So first, if I didn't have this list here and I wanted to just see what the Explorer process ID is, I would say pgrep, and not sure why I did that, but I would just say pgrep space and put the process name, which in this case is explorer.exe. All right, and this should give me the same process ID that we see on this list here, which is 1672. We can see that right here, 1672, explorer.exe. So then I would say migrate, and then I'm going to put the process ID, not the process name. All right, so it's going to migrate from 592 to 1672. Now, if I do sys info again, or we can now see that I have a 64-bit interpreter session. That's to go along with the 64-bit architecture of the Windows Server 2012 operating system. All right, so this is what this is going to do. Me as the attacker is going to ensure that I have a compatible interpreter session. Interpreter session that's compatible with the architecture of the operating system that I'm running this on, to ensure that I can run the commands that I want to run on this system. All right, so that, I mean, that pretty much is. Oh, another thing before I move on to the next thing, I could show what happens if we wanted to migrate to a process that simply isn't there. What happens? So if I do pgrep, and I'm gonna just make up a process here, and I say pgrep aws.exe. All right. So there's no aws .exe process running. But if I do that, then nothing happens. And that lets me know that there's no such process running, and I can't use that as a means to migrate to a higher level of interpreter. All right, now that's going to do it as far as the type of enumeration of processes and services that we could do with Meterpreter. Now I'm going to show how we can do some of these same things if we execute a shell and then thrown into the Windows command line. So I'm going to say shell. All right. So now I'm on the Windows command line interface. So now I'm going to say net start. And what this is going to do, it's going to give me a view of all the services that are started here on this compromised Windows host. All right, and so you may be wondering, for those that are unfamiliar, with what's the difference between this list and the list that I previously shown when using Meterpreter. And these are a list of services, where before I showed a list of processes. So what a process is, it's a running executable or a program. All right, so think like a Microsoft Word, or think of a Firefox browser. Okay, those would be examples of processes that are associated with programs. Where services are processes that run in the background and don't necessarily interact with the desktop. So we may see like themes or task scheduler. right, system events brokers. Those are things that are going to run in the background, and we don't necessarily have immediate access to or interact with. But it's still good for me as as the attacker or as the red teamer for me to be able to know what services and what processes are running on these system on the system, for me to be able to see a potential attack vector or a means of further elevating my privileges, all right, by enumerating these details. Now I could combine my knowledge of both of these details of processes and services by finding out, okay, which services are tied to what processes. In order to do this, I would say wmic, and that's going to be service list, and then brief. All right, and this should give me that list here. All right, so we can see here on the left, these, actually, let me see. Actually, I got ahead of myself here. Actually, no, what this is going to show, sorry, tied the wrong thing to the wrong thing. I'm gonna get to what I just said I was going to show. But actually, what this gives us, it gives us those lists of services again. But this is going to give us even more details about them. So this is going to tell us whether those services are manual or automated, and this is going to tell us whether they're running or not. All right, so we can see that it's going to list out all the available services, but we're going to see which ones have stopped and are not currently running, which ones are currently running. If we look at, for example, right here with this word SVC service, we can see which ones have been disabled. Okay, so further details again, helping us to determine if there are any notable attack vectors to further exploit, to achieve whatever objectives we've come to achieve by compromising this host. Now, if we wanted to be able to tie these services with any processes associated with them, we would do that by saying tasklist slash capital SVC. Now this is going to show, okay, we see here on the left, it's going to show the different processes here on the left, and then it's going to show what services are tied to what processes. All right, so if I know that there are certain processes that if I attack certain processes, it would then compromise certain services. I can knock a bunch of birds out with one stone, or I can know I could get maybe access to certain services, okay, by compromising just one single process. So again, it tells me as an attacker, gives me different options as far as what things, what processes and services that I may want to exploit to achieve whatever objectives that I'm looking to achieve here. All right. Some other things that I can enumerate here. I could try to enumerate some scheduled tasks. So to get a complete list of what those scheduled tasks are, I would just say SCH tasks, spell that right, and then slash query slash FO, and then list in all capital letters. All right, so we can see that it's generated a pretty sizable list here, and this is going to give me a list of all scheduled tasks, whether they're enabled or disabled. Because we can see some here are actually have a disabled status, where others are in a ready status. All right, so it would probably be best, given the long how long this list is, for me to copy this, save it in a document, and just kind of read through it to be able to get a good understanding of what scheduled tasks are running, and again determine if it's an attack vector or a means to be able to further escalate my privileges by the scheduled tasks that are running on the system. All right, so that's how we do that. And one last thing that I can do here, let's say if I even wanted to get even more detailed information about the schedule task, all right, I had to write this whole thing out again since I don't have a history here within shell. All right, I would do task slash query slash fo and then list again. But this time I'm going to add a slash v for verbosity. And this is going to give me even more detail. And this is something that I would definitely have to save into a separate document. All right, so the scheduled tasks can either be configured or misconfigured in a way in which they can be exploited again to elevate my privileges. But it's probably best that I would have to save this into a separate document, do some serious analysis, and and then strategize as far as any way that I would look to exploit anything that I find vulnerable. All right, so that's going to bring me to the end of the video here. All right, but just wanted to show different ways that we can enumerate processes and services, and also schedule tasks to be able to do some things such as privilege escalation or further exploiting any sort of vulnerabilities that we find here. All right, and this again, final video in a set of enumerating those details as far as compromised Windows hosts. But in my next video, I'm going to be showing how to take all this information such as process and services, network information, system information, user information, how we could then basically use one tool to automate all of that at one time, all right, and then be able to save that output for analysis. And that's going to save us a lot of time and effort. But it's good to know both manual and automated ways to do the enumeration, because sometimes the automated way may not necessarily be available to us when trying to enumerate a compromised host, and vice versa. Sometimes time and efficiency is of the essence, and we need to get this information as quickly as possible, where there's automated tools that will enable us to do that. So until then, please take care of yourself, and please like, share, and subscribe, and God bless.